I'm really excited to share this church leader tool, Your Best Christmas Ever. And I really hope the ideas and teaching in this tool will indeed help you have an excellent Christmas in your congregation. I should also note that in the description, you'll find a link which will take you to the website where you can download a handout which you can use to take notes while you're listening to this, and it will give you all of the details of what I'll be sharing. So let's jump into it. And first, we want to do some beginning thoughts, just kind of orient ourselves, and that's to plan early. I'm recording this with about 50 days to Christmas, and you want to be early. Some of the things you're going to plan and prepare for need to take some extra time, so start early. Second, tap into the societal Christmas. Society is already going to celebrate Christmas. There going to be hymns playing in the malls. There's going to be gift giving, which grew out of the themes of Christmas. People are already oriented. What we want to do is piggyback on that energy and captivate that to help celebrate, it's trite, but it's true, the real reason for the season. So we're just kind of building on that energy. So doing a special outreach at Christmas is a great time to do this. And I want to note the difference between lag and lead metrics. For example, church leaders all around the country after Christmas will share what worship attendance they had. That's a lag. It's only after the fact. What we're going to work toward is some lead metrics, some things we can do before to emphasize and to make that lag metric better. It's planning that we can say, here's how many outreach methods, or here's how many postcards we gave out, or whatever methods we were using. That's your lead metrics is what you want to strive for. It's also helpful to note an idea that the church leader Nelson Searcy talks about, which is your big day. You want to put some extra emphasis and effort into your big day. And in the church calendar, Christmas and Easter are those two times, if you're not going to do any outreach or special efforts, any other time, you want to put it in to Christmas and Easter. And as I mentioned, Easter already has that energy. People are already sensitized to it. So we're going to build on that. And the last of the beginning thoughts, make sure you bathe this process, what you do for Christmas, in prayer. Personal prayer by your prayer team, by your prayer warriors in your congregation. Bathe what you're going to do in prayer. So let's jump into some basic preparation. First, it's helpful to have a team. That might be a team that you already have, a church council leadership, an evangelism team, a worship team. I have a team I call the creative worship team who just helped me brainstorm about where things are going. But gather a couple folks because you'll be more creative. You'll have more hands to be engaged in work if you gather or use a team that already exists. And you want to have that team work on a theme for your Christmas. And Christmas is interesting. You got to hold to tradition. It's got to be baby Jesus, manger, shepherds, angels, wise men. These are the things we do expect from Christmas, but you also want to capture it in a new way. You want to come at it in a unique way. I'm a big one. I love first-person narratives. So that might be from the perspective of Joseph or a shepherd I did one year. Some unique way to come at it. I heard one church leader talk about preaching on Christmas through the perspective of heaven. But find a unique way to come at Christmas. It'll bless those who know well the story, and it'll captivate those who maybe don't know it as well. Next, you want to do some basic worship planning. Is there special music, special preaching, anything unique and different that you want to do? And you do want to do something different. You don't want to go so far over the top that if you have a new guest who comes and then, you have the full orchestra on Christmas Eve and then they come back on a normal worship service and where's the orchestra? But you want to do something special to make the day special. Particularly if you think about anything special, is there a way to add some special value to Christmas? I know churches that will have a free family portrait. You're all dressed up and there on Christmas, they'll do that portrait as just something special. And it usually means they get some contact information from folks. I know there are years when at the churches I've served, we've given away a swatch of a baby blanket to just kind of remind people of the celebration of Christmas, or given away candles. Or last year, we had a creative idea. We obtained a whole bunch of polished stones, had some volunteers write hope on them, prayed over them, and then invited people to come to the manger on Christmas Eve and receive a physical reminder of hope. It was just a stone that was prayed over that had hope written on it. But I had a guy tell me 6 months later, he said, every morning I put that in my pocket, I remember hope, and it really has made a difference for me. And this is a guy who's been through some hard times. So little things like that can mean a lot. So what special can you do? Also in your preparation, what can you do special for children? Many churches will not have Christian education on Christmas Eve, and that's a missed opportunity in my own mind, especially during the sermon message. Might not be a time when kids will be quite as connected in a worship service. To have something special just for them might make that extra special difference for them to learn and experience Christmas on their level. And then last, it might be helpful to have a Christmas countdown. Most folks know that it's coming fast. It's not as important as, say, at Easter, where some folks may not even know when Easter is. But this will keep the energy up, and your countdown can note you have how many days to invite someone to come and celebrate on Christmas. So let's actually talk now about the Christmas outreach, some of the steps you're going to do. First, you'll want to invest some time and some finances in your outreach. In fact, if you're ever going to spend money and extra effort to reach out and connect with someone new for the life of your congregation, Christmas and Easter are the seasons to do that. It's going to take that extra investment, and you may not have the funds to go ahead and do that, but find them anywhere, maybe even a special donation in order to make that extra effort to connect with someone new on Christmas. I often say that we're not always hitting the ball out of the park, but we are swinging, we are trying. And the truth is, if you don't invest that time and finances, then you're guaranteed to miss. You're not swinging, you're never hitting the ball. If you're swinging, you're much more likely to connect with somebody new. Second, make sure you communicate in multiple methods. We've probably all heard that description that you need to communicate 7 times in 7 different ways. In as many ways as are possible, get the word out about your Christmas Eve worship services and get an invitation out there. I've given this description on previous church leader tools. Years ago, I missed a communication method. And so I sat down after that, annoyed that I had missed it, with my staff, and we brainstormed about all the different methods of communication that we used in that congregation. Well, by the time we were done, we realized there were 17 or 18 different methods. And then I realized the problem, there are just too many to keep them all in your head. So I made sure that I had them all written down. And when you do that, then you can go back and say, okay, these are the methods that we're going to use on this particular occasion, this Christmas, to reach out and connect. Next, you want to resource the members and attenders of your congregation. You want to put something into their hands that will help them to invite. Time and time again, research has shown that the most effective form of outreach is from an individual. And we'll talk about other methods in a moment. But if you can resource the folks already in your congregation, for example, this year my congregation is going to use a postcard, and we'll ask people to give those postcards away, which really leads us to those print resources. Have some things that you can print and mail out, send out, or give out to your members who then will in turn give them to other folks. By the way, I should mention that that postcard is going to be small enough that it will fit in a Christmas card. And that way, folks can just drop them into their Christmas cards. Write a little note on them, and as they're already sending out Christmas cards, make that invitation. Or slide them in the mailboxes at work, hand them out to neighbors, keep them in their purse or backpack, and hand them to everybody that they meet. We've resourced them with a print material. A lot of folks appreciate business cards as well. Again, very easy for someone to drop that in their pocket and hand them out to folks that they interact with. As well, you also want to provide social media resources. That's boosted posts and such on Facebook. But if you create that as, let's say, an event, then your members can link that on their Facebook pages and go and forward them on as well. Facebook and creating a simple graphic for Snapchat or other outreach methods is going to help your members and to get the word out. So use social media, and if it isn't your greatest gift, then find somebody who is. You don't have to have all the skills. You just need to have the right people who have those skills. Have someone teach you how to do a good post on Facebook or to set up Google Ads, which I find very confusing. But there's somebody in your congregation that probably has some skills. They do it for work, and tap those skills. And then as you're creating resources, think about the what and the how. By that, I mean the details of your communication, making sure you have the who, what, when, where, how, little things like the church address. Make sure that it's not churchy language, but that will connect and appeal to folks who are churched and unchurched. Give some thought to how you do that and have somebody else look it over, particularly somebody who maybe isn't even on your planning team, so you get some ideas. I typically send some advertising out to a team and just get their feedback so that it's as polished and as helpful communication as possible. You'll also want to provide, and this doesn't need to be detailed, but some training and some encouragement, particularly for your members in terms of invitation. That could be just a 30-second or a 1-minute message as you're giving the postcards out, explaining different methods that you can use. You could put a little teaching piece that you write up and attach that with the postcards or whatever method you're using. Think about how to resource and encourage people. Pray for that process. Again, one thing you could do is to have someone who maybe started worshiping on Christmas give a little testimony about how that hooked them and they've been coming since. That'll encourage people in their invitations to know they could affect and change someone's faith journey as well. And if you have the ability, offer extra advertising. That could be print, that could be radio, that could be internet. A great teacher that I've learned a lot from, his name is Bob Franquez. Bob says that there are only really 2 types of people out there that you can connect with. One are those that somebody in your church knows and could invite. And the other one is people who no one in your church knows. And the only way to reach those folks is through some form of advertising. And then last, if you can build some form of accountability and prayer into the process, a simple, easy way to do that is to ask folks to write down who they plan to invite. That makes them think it through and make that commitment, and then pray over them. Have your prayer team pray over them in worship, or hand them over to your prayer team, and lift them before God that those invitations are indeed successful. And now let me talk for just a moment to those who will share a message on Christmas. Couple things to think about in that area. Start planning now. And actually, your creative team process has already started that. So you've already got some ideas and some directions. Continue to let that float around in your mind. Christmas is a busy season, both personally and professionally. And so having that in the back of your mind, where you're going to go with your message. I know a leader who calls that crock potting his message. It's just sitting in the back, simmering. You want to give yourself that time to have a great message. Also, create that message with both the church and unchurched in mind. You want to appeal to both. And really, that isn't as hard as it seems. They're both human beings. As the line from O Little Town of Bethlehem says, we all have hopes and fears. And if you're careful, you can communicate to the hopes and fears of your church folks and of your unchurched folks. So be thinking about both of those. Also, offer some kind of an invitation to those who are unchurched. I'm not talking about an altar call, although some churches will do something like that, but I mean a next step for them to continue on their faith journey. I like how the actor Stephen Baldwin, when he became a Christian, would just offer little hints of what he had found in faith. He'd say that he was at a party, and someone will say, well, you aren't really a Christian, are you? And he'd say, yes, I have a deep peace I've never known before. And the people would just kind of give him a strange look and move away at the party. But he said later they would cycle back around and say, what do you mean by that deep peace? We have the opportunity in a Christmas message to just hook people a little bit, to make them curious about what a life of faith is like. And also offer some simple, easy steps. We live in a complicated world, and the easier you can make it a next step for them in their faith, maybe that's reading the Bible or prayer or coming to another event that you have at your church. I'll talk about that in a moment. But think about how to help them take a next easy step. And then let's be ready for guests. There's a whole church leader tool on your welcome system. You'll find in the description for this video a link to a webpage, and on there it's called Outreach Jumpstart Your Welcome System. That will help you develop an excellent way to gather information and connect with those who are guests. But the simple description is you want to collect their information. The best way to do that is to use something like a connection card, something in the bulletin where people fill that out. That gives you their contact information. It's always helpful to offer some food and fellowship after worship. Christmas cookies, of course, is an easy, simple way to do that. And that gives a new guest a way to connect with some folks who are part of your congregation, or maybe they came with someone. Just gives them a little bit of fellowship time. Maybe you'll be offering some small groups in the new year. Make sure you advertise those on Christmas. A next worship series is a great idea. I always make sure, and have for the last number of years, that on Christmas Eve I advertise what we're going to do in the new year, just to invite and tell them some ways that they continue on a faith journey that they've really begun by being there on Christmas Eve. Also, think about those next steps for a guest. If you have new members classes coming up, offer that. If you have some special event for guests, say a guest reception on any regular basis, make sure that is well advertised so folks have those next steps again as guests. And let me just finish with a little bit of wrap up. First, celebrate. And Christmas is going to be busy, and sometimes we don't tend to do that. Just step back somewhere along the line and say, thank you, Lord, for whatever we have done, however we've worked toward this point, and whatever results that has had. Just help, enjoy and celebrate as well. Keep track of those metrics, and as we talked about before, celebrate the way that you've done some lead metrics, and hopefully there'll been some results for that in your lag metrics as results of new guests that have come. For sure, thank folks who invited and brought someone to Christmas Eve. Thank folks that did something special, like writing hope on stones, or musicians that offered something special. Make sure you do some thank yous. And of course, also you want to do some evaluation. You want to learn from what you've done and make your next Christmas even better than this Christmas, which I hope it is a great Christmas for you. And I hope that this teaching has helped prepare you for Christmas and will help you have your best Christmas ever. And as always, if this has been helpful, forward it on to someone else who needs to get ready for Christmas. Take care and God bless.